I once slept in a bed in a furniture shop window with no curtains. And no, it wasn't a prank. It definitely wasn't art, and it definitely wasn't planned. This was the early 90s, and I was working as a store manager for a furniture chain here in Australia. And for a short period of time, the shop became home. I know, right? At the time, my marriage had broken down, and like a lot of people, I ended up staying with friends of friends for a while. I didn't even know these people, but they seemed nice. It was only meant to be temporary. How temporary, I wasn't sure. I didn't even think about that. See, ADHD on consistent autopilot. But slowly, people started moving out. I can't even remember how long I was there, but one day I realised I didn't have actually anywhere to go. I was working for a big, full time for a company called Mad Barry's, a big furniture chain. They sell furniture, beds, bathroom supplies, with stores up and down the east coast of Australia. I was the manager of one of the stores, based in Canberra, Australia's capital, in an industrial suburb. Not quiet at night, no foot traffic, no nightlife, which turns out is ideal if you're about to make some very questionable life decisions. Now, I should mention that here that I was struggling pretty badly with ADHD. Um, Undiagnosed, obviously, at the time, that we're talking about the early 90s, along with OCD traits that I didn't realise I had either, and also I'm on the autism spectrum. So my brain didn't go, this is a terrible idea. My brain went, well, this technically solves the problem, so go with it, Phil. The store had everything: toilets, showers, kitchens. I even had access to a washing machine and dryer. And the only bed that was fully made up and ready to go was the one in the front window. In the front window, display window. So for about 2 weeks, I lived in the shop, in the store. I slept in a display bed, right at the front. No curtains because, hey, a display window doesn't have curtains, does it? Which in hindsight feels like something you should probably need a permit for. Because I was the manager, the staff weren't really concerned about what happened before 8 a.m. or after 5 p.m. They'd go home, I'd lock up, do the till, do the paperwork, totally normal, nothing to see here. What they didn't realise was I wasn't leaving to go home, I was already there. I looked after the place properly. I'd vacuum, kept the displays tidy, changed the bedding regularly, quite regularly. We also had a wrap to go over the bed during the day, so if people wanted to lay on the bed and test it, they could, which was great for me. The staff cleaned the place during the day anyway, so nothing looked out of place. I ate in the kitchen or sometimes grabbed takeaway from the next suburb. Because the store had a washing machine and dryer, I had plenty of uniforms. I basically lived in clean work clothes, which also meant I didn't really own much else at the time, only what I could store in my car, which was stored out the back in the car park. The only downside of sleeping is sleeping in shorts and t-shirt, which I thought was a good idea, but I hated. But I didn't exactly want to be sleeping otherwise in a shop window. Boundaries are important, even for someone in my state. None of the staff knew what was going on. I didn't tell anyone till right at the end, not even my assistant manager. And honestly, I think they were probably happier that they didn't know. On the weekends, I'd hang out, I'd grab the kids, and I'd close the store up at lunchtime at Saturday, jump in the Mad Barry's van and pick up the kids. The kids used to love travelling around in the Mad Barry's bus, they used to call it. And they'd bring their friends and yeah, we'd have a fat old time. We'd go fishing, drive out to the creek, go shopping, do whatever they wanted to do basically. As long as I was hanging out with them, my life was complete. And that's pretty well how I've felt most of my life, really. I really tried hard to be a really good dad during that time. I don't know how my kids would describe me back then, but I was trying. I really, really was. In fact, I've always tried to be a really good dad. I love hanging out with my kids. They're the best people to hang out with as far as I'm concerned. So eventually, my friends, Ian and Colleen, Ian being a fellow builder as myself, they found out. I can't remember how they found out, but they found out. And Colleen sent Ian down to the store and basically said, look, you can't have him living in a shop window. He's coming to live with us. So, and that was that. So I packed up what little goods I had and parked my car at their house and took the Mad Barry's bus home with me, and stayed with them and their kids and got to know them really well. They were cool people to hang out with as well. So, looking back now, it's equal parts sad and funny. At the time, it felt practical. In hindsight, it was a very ADHD solution to a very human problem. Hey, I was technically homeless without that place at that point. But it also showed me something important: how easy you can slide into survival mode and how hard it can be to ask for help. Although at the point, I don't know that my ADHD brain was even thinking about asking for help. I was just trundling along in my own little world, as I've done pretty well most of my life, not really thinking about anything else apart from what was immediately in front of me. Um, so, if you've ever had a moment in your life where you thought, this works, even if it shouldn't, you're not alone. Because I'll tell you right now, that was not my proudest moment. But I definitely one I should have learned from. But sadly, that was not the case. Because stay tuned, folks, for more bad decisions, because there's plenty coming. So if you found this story interesting, give it a like. If you want more real stories like this, feel free to describe, because I can tell you there's more stories coming like this, because I did not learn. I didn't learn anything. I was unable to because of my mental state. And importantly as well, if you know someone who might be struggling or, might need to hear this, maybe share it with them, because you never know, someone might just think about what they're doing. So, thanks folks. As I say, more coming, and thanks for listening. I'll see you soon. Bye.